Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to the Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a wife, a busy mom of three, and the founder of the cutting edge and award-winning supplement brand Accelerated Health Products. This podcast is more than just a source of information. It's a community for you and for those looking to optimize their health. Remember, I release new episodes live every Monday and Tuesday and a bonus one on Thursday. So remember to subscribe and add to your playlist so you never miss a show. And join my free group coaching on Telegram. There is no downside. I answer your questions. I post daily, and you are surrounded by an amazing group to support you. The details can be found on my website, SaraBantaHealth.com. And my goal, I need your help, is to reach everyone who needs my message of healing. Help me by sharing this podcast with a few friends and loved ones. There's so much misinformation out there. Don't you love that word now? So we need to get it straight. I have tried every diet when we're talking about low carb diets. And is that the answer for weight loss? I've been a proponent of low carb diet for quite a while. That included the keto craze, the carnivore phase over the last decade. But personally, I never succumbed to eating a high fat diet, and that excess fat never made me feel my best. I also intuitively knew that every stage of my dietary changes, that protein was important. In those 3 days that I went vegetarian, vegan, I was a disaster. Bloated, headache, felt horrible. I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. Might be for someone else. And I still believe it is. I still believe protein is what we need to prioritize. But that leaves the carbs. Are they evil? Well, have I changed my mind about low carb food diets? Yes, I have, partially. So some facts. Most people are suffering from insulin resistance or prediabetes or diabetes and low energy. I'm eating and I'm not getting the energy, right? Does that sound like you? Another truth, that lowering the sugar and carb intake can take the foot off the gas pedal when the body can't use that glucose. So it helps with that insulin to reset it and come down if you have insulin resistance. And when someone adheres to a low carb diet, they tend to eat more healthy protein and less carbohydrate foods, because where are the carbs? They're typically in the 70% of the standard American diet, which is ultra refined carbohydrates, lacking protein. So you tend to eat healthier when you go on a low carb diet. But the problem isn't the carbs. It's the other factors that have caused insulin resistance and have broken the metabolism, which makes the excess carbs more fuel to the fire and putting that foot on the gas pedal. So we want to take a step back and look at the metabolism. And I had someone ask me last week, should I just get a blood test and figure out if my genetics show that I am meant to have a low metabolism? I always have all of my life. No, because that's not your destiny. You can fix a metabolism. I don't care who you are. So we need to start with what is insulin resistance. That manifests when the cells struggle to effectively oxidize or burn glucose. So then you get a whole bunch of sugar in the blood, and the insulin's trying to drive it into the cells for cellular energy, right? And it's knocking at the door, and the cell says, nope, I'm full. I can't take anymore, and see you later. So then it increases the insulin and says, no, I really mean it, and starts screaming at the cells to get that glucose in. It doesn't work. So then you get elevated blood sugar levels. So insulin resistance is not a standalone issue, but several symptoms, or serves as symptom of an underlying concern, and that is impaired energy production in the mitochondria. So you literally have this gap between the food that you eat that you think is automatically going to turn into energy. And we need to talk about energy, meaning ATP in the mitochondria, and energy is over here. But there's this gap that we need to fix. We need to bring it together so that that food actually translates into energy. But for a lot of you, you're eating more, and the energy, it's not getting into the cells and it's not converting into energy. So insulin resistance is a symptom of a broken metabolism, and it's not the problem itself. So take a step back. The goal is to increase that cellular energy, improve mitochondrial health, increase ATP. The lack of cellular energy is what leads to disease, immune suppression, degeneration, and as a result, also unexplained weight gain. Who does this sound like? Insulin resistance is that symptom of metabolic disease, a lack of cellular energy, and due to that mitochondrial dysfunction. We got to fix our mitochondria. Insulin resistance creates an environment where the cells fail to properly use those carbs or glucose, and that glucose builds up. That's why if you take the carbs out, the problem kind of takes a little break, but it's not fixing the problem. So reducing carb intake does take that pressure off, and it does not cure the broken metabolism. The underlying problem is not eating too many carbs, but we're not converting. We're not converting that energy into, that food into energy. And then that food is stacking up, causing insulin resistance. Insulin is a fat storing hormone, results in weight gain. So initially, a low carb diet is very helpful for weight loss by removing excess pressure on the body to store the glucose that it cannot store. And so doing a low carb diet for 1 to 3 months may help with weight loss, but long term, it may backfire. Many people sticking to a low carb ketogenic diet, especially a higher fat diet, for the long term experience negative side effects like sleep issues, anxiety, drop in testosterone, reduced T3, which is your thyroid hormone, your energy, your metabolism, that free T3, and reduced energy and exercise performance. So really listen to your body. Your body is your best doctor, right? So blood tests, the doctor's probably going to not test everything they're supposed to, but they might say, this is normal. This is part of aging. This is part of menopause. No, that's not the answer. I'm 48 years old and I have a better metabolism and more energy than I did when I was a teenager. And that's not because it's genetic. It's because of what I do for it. So what causes a broken metabolism? So we're talking about the things away from carbs or no carbs, right? So these are the things you need to address if you want to fix your metabolism. Number 1, stress. I know we're all stressed, and it's how we perceive our stress. We're going to have that stress, but how you perceive it is going to tell your body how to deal with it. Because your body doesn't know if we're facing a famine and we're going to be in a long haul of a winter where we don't have any food, or if you had a fight with your husband. So it doesn't know. The stress response is going to increase insulin resistance, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Okay, so stress causes leaky gut, which will then encourage the growth of endotoxins, which we're going to talk about in a minute, malabsorption of the nutrients to support a healthy metabolism, and a disruption of the happy hormones to help with stress, which is then going to make your perceived stress go up even more. Stress causes the inactive thyroid hormone T4 to convert into reverse T3, not free T3, which slows down the metabolism, encourages fat storage, because God knows we might be in a famine. We need to hold on to those fat cells and those calories for survival. The body's smart. The chronic release of cortisol is going to increase fat storage around the belly. That's that visceral fat, dangerous fat, but that fat is to protect those expensive organs for survival. Stress increases insulin resistance without eating a piece of chocolate. And it doesn't matter. It will increase your blood sugar regulation and promote fat storage. So stress is number 1. Start getting into stress management. Number 2 are the polyunsaturated fats that are found in processed foods, fake butter, salad dressings, fried foods, even chicken, pork, nuts, seeds, seed oils, and fatty fish. During the keto craze, everyone's like, eat as many nuts as you want. Well, there are two foods in this world that are meant to fatten up animals: dairy, mother's milk, right? Or cow's milk, and nuts. They're meant to store, eat during the summertime to store for winter. So it's fat and carbs together. That is, you got to think about the fat and the carbs. We don't want a high fat, high carb diet. That is not what we're after here. So the PUFAs are even worse. These fats contribute to a broken metabolism, destroy mitochondria, heart disease, cause obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. Now, I'm saying all of these diseases, but really they all come down to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance at the heart disease. Insulin resistance at the liver, diabetes. Insulin resistance in the brain, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. So these oils, the polyunsaturated fats, have multiple double bonds in their carbon chains, which are different from saturated fats. They inhibit production or energy production, drastically increase the energy demands, and decrease the energy utilization. They structurally are weak. Their bonds are broken, okay? And so they're they're very fragile. And what does that mean? That will convert into harmful inflammatory compounds and cause oxidative stress. The thing about these oils and this damage, it stays in your body for up to 7 years. Sugar in and out of your body within a day, right? So these oils lead to mitochondrial dysfunction, and the electron transport chain is essential for creating ATP and energy, and they are destroying that as well. They cause reduced fatty acid beta oxidation, meaning that your body is not going to be able to burn fat as efficiently, and it will actually prioritize burning carbohydrates as fuel. So as the body becomes less efficient in using fat as energy, it's also going to make those fat cells bigger, because those fat cells are where we store toxins, radiation, and more of the glucose and the sugar that we need to put somewhere, right? So these seed oils, especially in the processed food, need to be out of your diet. Processed foods need to be out of your diet. Iodine deficiency is a big cause of mitochondrial issues. It's the number one cause of mitochondrial failure. Mitochondria can only produce 2 ATP, and without iodine, and with iodine, it produces 36. That's 18 times. ATP is that true cellular energy, and that's going to translate into a healthy metabolism. That is going to make that food turn into energy and close that gap we were talking about. Inside the cells, iodine increases energy and metabolism. Outside the cells, iodine helps reduce inflammation and histamines, which is causing that water retention, helps devitalize viruses, bacteria, and other foreign pathogens, cleanses the liver where your thyroid hormones turn into active thyroid hormones, regulates hormonal balance, helps with testosterone going up and growth hormone, which are your fat burning hormones, and helps balance out the estrogens and get rid of the bad estrogens, which cause weight gain, and detoxes all 100 trillion cells in the body of toxins like fluoride, bromide, chlorine, lead, mercury, xenoestrogens, radiation. It also helps alleviate the symptoms from the spike protein. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it actually can help regulate blood sugar. Just by doing iodine, you can bring down your blood sugar, and it's been shown in diabetics. So I mentioned what iodine does inside and outside the cells, but what does it do on the wall, the cell membrane, which is the brain of the cell? Well, there is a saturated and an unsaturated fat layer, okay? And each one has an iodine value, iodolipid, meaning iodine and fat. That means you need iodine for the cell membrane of all 100 trillion cells. So if you don't have enough iodine just for the cell membrane, you can't get the other iodine inside the cell and the toxins out and the nutrients of your food, the healthy food, into your cells. So iodine is needed inside the cell, on the cell, and outside the cell. That is why it's so important. And 96% of you are iodine deficient. Make sure you go back and listen to the podcast with Dr. Brownstein. We talk about the importance of it and why he is recommending higher doses, like I am now, because of all the toxins we are exposed to. Radiation. So non-ionizing and ionizing sources of radiation, that's your cell phone, your computer, the 5G towers, your smart meters. That has been shown without eating a morsel of chocolate to increase insulin resistance, increase oxidative stress, which accelerates aging and chronic disease, attacks the DNA, compromises the nervous, endocrine, and hormonal systems. Why are testosterone levels plummeting and estrogen dominance increasing so quickly? This is why. It causes digestive issues, lowers your metabolic rate without eating, without dieting. It on its own, just being on your cell phone can lower your metabolic rate, increase fat storage, because remember, it's a stressor. So what does your body do when you're stressed? Stores fat. It reduces ATP energy and production. And that is the goal, is to increase ATP. Radiation's going out of that. And yes, it's part of our life. We are going to be on our cell phones, but we need to start combating that and alleviating it through supplements, diet, and just being outside in nature. The xenoestrogens are rampant in our food, water, and environment. They mimic estrogen in the body. These are the bad estrogens. These increase estrone, not estradiol, which is the good estrogen, but these include herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, plastics, parabens, and more. They cause mitochondrial decline, disrupt the hormonal balance that lead to disease, lower energy, and cause weight gain. And the body wants to protect its organs from these toxins, so they store them in these new, bigger, larger fat cells. The more toxins, the more fat cells your body needs, and leaky gut. So the toxins in the processed foods, just one processed food meal can cause leaky gut. That's right, one meal. Linoleic acid in these processed foods, excess estrogens, other toxins. The gut is dramatically altered and compromised. And these poisons lead to a decreased cellular energy production in the mitochondria, lead to decreased carbon dioxide production in the intestines. And this low level of carbon dioxide in the large intestines promotes the growth of pathogenic disease causing bacteria. And these bacteria have large amounts of lipopolysaccharides, also known as LPS, embedded in their cell membranes. And when they die, the LPS, known as endotoxin, is released. And this is another detrimental poison to the metabolism, and it's going to affect your mitochondria and lower your energy. See how all of these things are working against us in this modern world? Our grandparents did not have this issue. When the gut is compromised, complex carbohydrates feed the problem and make things worse. However, when your metabolism is fixed by removing the poisons, the mitochondria produces sufficient energy and the healthy bacteria in the gut are restored. These complex carbohydrates can have a healthy impact on the gut. That's why you have to look at your diet, not just for your genetics, but your current state of health. When I was fighting the varicella virus, it was affecting my vision, and my blurred vision was being inflamed, or my optic nerve was being inflamed. I had to switch my diet. I had to be more strict. I had to change some of my supplements because some of the supplements would have been making it worse. And I backed off on the grains. When I started, when I healed, and now I'm feeling fantastic, I can handle the non-processed whole certain foods, certain grains, not gluten, but organic complex carbohydrates. I can use a lot of the different fruits, some that are not on my list on the accelerated food guide. Make sure you check that out for the different fats, carbs, and proteins that are good versus bad. And we're going to talk through some of those in a minute. But you have to look at the current state of health of your body. And like I said, you are your best doctor. Okay, processed foods. We've talked about this a little bit. They're full of toxins, GMOs, artificial sweeteners and flavors, refined sugars, and so many more starches. And they're compact without the fiber. all of these ingredients independently destroy the gut. So you're putting them all together, it's like a firestorm. And it causes endotoxin production, which destroys mitochondrial function. The lack of the nutrients and the hyperpalatability of these foods cause overeating to make things worse and lead to that weight gain. MSG is in almost all of this food, and it has been connected to increased appetite, lower metabolic function, and increased weight gain. And fluoridated water. Yes, water can break your metabolism. Fluoride, like bromide and chlorine, is not only a toxin that your body wants to store in its fat cells, but it competes with iodine at the cellular level. So iodine, you need it. And we talked about that. And so by having this fluoride in your toothpaste, in your water, is going to displace the iodine and cause that mitochondrial failure. It lowers ATP, inhibits mitochondrial health, and leads to weight gain. Diet sodas. I have a funny story on this. Not a funny story. My friend was in the hospital for a few weeks, and they asked, well, do you have anything for electrolytes? And the nurse looks at her and goes, what do you mean? Like, oh, we've got diet soda. So that's our medical system, guys. Diet soda has so many toxins in it. There's nothing redeemable about it. There's no calories. People who drink artificially sweetened sodas are more likely to experience weight gain because their body is tricked into thinking, well, I just tasted something sweet, so now I want to eat it. I want to eat more because I'm not getting the calories that my body's expecting. But it's not hydrating you. It's super acidic. It's just everything about it is not good. Stay away from it. Have some iced tea. Have some fruit flavored water, sparkling water. There's so many other options out there. And people who drink diet soda have twice the risk of developing metabolic disease. So almost lastly, the spike protein. And this is the new reality we're all living with. That is what triggered my varicella virus issue that I had. And this spike protein is causing a dysregulation of the ACE2 enzyme receptor in the liver. And that is causing water retention, insulin dysregulation, and unexplained weight gain. So not eating anything different, you might gain weight. Increases in the antidiuretic hormone levels, increases in oxidative stress and inflammation, hormonal imbalances, leaky gut. So on top of what you're eating, just by being exposed to the spike protein, you can have leaky gut, increased histamine intolerance. So everything is causing a histamine response where maybe it didn't 4 years ago. Increased oxalate production without eating the oxalates, increased amyloid production without eating the amyloids, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. The spike protein has exacerbated the effects of all of the other things that we've talked about, compromising the detox pathways. So our liver is stacking up the toxins, and it says, I give up, I can't do anymore. So it is something to really take into consideration. Copper deficiency. So an increase in the processed foods and the spike protein independently both have increased copper depletion in the body. And copper plays an essential role in controlling uric acid, insulin resistance, and weight gain. What it does is it inhibits the polyol pathway, a metabolic process responsible for converting glucose into sorbitol and fructose. That's not a good thing. In the absence of copper, uric acid levels will increase, and that's going to cause insulin resistance and unexplained weight gain to increase. Copper also helps maintain healthy levels of triglycerides, look at your blood tests, and prevents the accumulation of fat in the liver. 45% of the United States adults has fatty liver disease. 25% of our children have fatty liver disease. This is supposed to be an alcoholic disease, and now our children have it, and it's because of processed foods. So this fatty liver is contributing to the development of insulin resistance. And copper is really important for regulating iron, which helps with your energy, right? So we all have probably way too much iron in our body. It's just in the wrong places. So what do? We need copper to open the door to let the iron get to where it needs to go. So it is copper that is the key to that anemia issue. And my daughter and I have suffered from anemia for a long time, and now we have realized why. It was a lack of copper. So what do we do about this? Okay, we are going to talk about how we start incorporating carbs back into the diet. But first, I want to fast track you with some supplements that will help increase that ATP. Remember, the goal is for metabolism is that mitochondrial health, that increase in ATP. Iodine is essential for combating this iodine deficiency that most of you have, and it increases that ATP per mitochondria from 2 to 36 by 18 times. And with inadequate iodine intake, the thyroid is not working because T4, T3, T2 is your fat burning thyroid hormone. T3 is your metabolism. T4 is inactive. All of that stands for tyrosine and 2, 3, and 4 molecules of iodine. So how can you have thyroid hormone without iodine? Okay, so iodine is necessary for the synthesis of all of these hormones. And it also helps with cellular detoxification, getting rid of the toxins, the heavy metals, the radiation out of the cells that cause the cells to want to get bigger, the fat cells, and to actually grow more fat cells. So taking the toxins out, the body's like, oh, well, there's no reason that we have to have all of these fat cells anymore or have them so big. And it also displaces the halogens, which are the fluoride, chlorine, and bromide. And those are known to contribute to hypothyroidism, a slower metabolism, and other chronic disease. And by high dosing iodine, the iodine displaces the toxins, prevents new toxins from attaching to the cell receptor sites. So it has also been shown that iodine can help alleviate the damage caused by the spike protein. And it also is known to help clean the blood, which is going to help facilitate the liver's detoxification process. Our liver's needs so much help. So you got to love your liver. You got to do the iodine, but also do your liver flushes 3 to 4 times a year. And it helps alleviate estrogen dominance. So why acceleradine over any other iodine? It's a single atom of iodine. It goes into your body and it is looking for cell receptor sites to attach to and has 100% absorption rate. Most iodine supplements are iodine attached to like a potassium or some other molecule, where then the body, which is already low in energy, right? Because you're coming to me thinking I'm low in energy and I'm gaining weight. Well, it has little energy to break apart that iodine from the other molecule to have absorption. And that is why there's typically only 10 to 20% absorption from other iodine supplements. Acceleradine iodine is also enhanced with scalar frequencies to increase its efficacy in all that it's supposed to do. The second supplement for your increased metabolism and mitochondrial health is the accelerated thyroid. It is the most comprehensive natural thyroid supplement designed to optimize your thyroid. It combines grass-fed thyroid glandular with essential peptides, amino acids, and vital nutrients that your thyroid needs. In addition to ancient herbal Ayurvedic formula that I've been using for years called Kanchanara, and I love it because it takes away that water retention. It helps with nodules on the thyroid, detoxifying the thyroid, and working with that thyroid glandular. And then we add in amino acids like tyrosine that are essential for optimizing thyroid function. Then what do? We, of course, enhance it with scalar frequencies, and those frequencies are designed to help with clearing emotional and physical shock from the body, helping enhance the overall health of the thyroid, ensuring its optimal function, and detoxifying the body and the thyroid from halogens, heavy metals, radiation, and just overall thyroid support. With the guidance of your doctor, most people are seeing that they're able to get off their thyroid medication with the combination of the acceleradine iodine and the accelerated thyroid. Why? Because we just completely lifted up our ATP in the body, and our energy and our brain fog is going away. Our depression's going away. Why? Because iodine deficiency is the number one cause of depression. So most people on antidepressants are actually hypothyroid, and their doctors are not checking a full thyroid panel when they go in. And they may not even be looking at the TSH, which doesn't tell you much anyway. So the accelerated thyroid with the acceleradine iodine, the ingredients have been shown to help with fatty liver, which also is affecting your metabolism and weight loss. Accelerates wound healing, strengthens the connective tissues and bones. Did you know that osteoporosis is connected to low thyroid? Mood elevation, which we've talked about, better cycles, better menstrual cycles. So many women, younger women, have said that their PMS symptoms from the spike protein has gotten significantly worse. And then with the combination of iodine and the accelerated thyroid, that they've been able to lower their Advil intake or whatever they need because their PMS symptoms have come down. So that is great news. And same with menopausal women, same thing. And fertility, right? So all of these things are going to affect your hormonal balance in men and women at every stage of life. The third supplement, accelerated keto. And this is soon going to be accelerated fast. And why? Because, like I mentioned, I am not a proponent of a high-fat ketogenic diet. But what accelerated keto, accelerated fast, does is that it increases your ketones naturally in the body. It enhances metabolism and fat, or the ingredients that work synergistically in there to do so. It enhances ATP production by 5 to 10 times. So here we've got iodine increasing your ATP per mitochondria to 36 from 2. And then the accelerated thyroid also has been shown to help with ATP. And then you got the accelerated keto that is increasing it by another 5 to 10 times. So you're going to get an increased metabolism, help with weight loss, but it's also gently cleansing the liver on a daily basis. So yes, we need to do our liver flushes, but you are cleansing the liver on a daily basis. And that is pivotal for that conversion of T4 to T3. And it also helps suppress your cravings so that you can intermittent fast for that morning time without stressing your body. It's going to help you abstain from the sugar and the processed foods because you're not going to be craving them as much. The body transitions into ketosis, starts to learn how to use its own fat stores for fuel. And this is going to give you steady energy, help with your insulin resistance and blood sugar. And you're not going to be on this roller coaster. And then what you do is you focus on the good foods, right? Okay, so those are the 3 top ones. You can also add in the accelerated scalar copper. And we talked about why copper is so important. But the accelerated scalar copper is enhanced with scalar frequencies. It is the only copper supplements that's liquid. You can spray it on your face for brown spots and age spots, but it's also 99% absorbed versus 5 to 10% by other copper supplements. Copper is needed. It's a cofactor for various enzymes involved in the thyroid. The enzymes are pivotal in converting that T4 into T3. It also binds to thyroid hormones, notably TBG, a protein responsible for transporting thyroid hormones in the bloodstream. It also helps with oxidative stress and alleviates anemia that we talked about. What else can you do? You can add in the accelerated ancient salt. I actually just put a little bit on my tongue right before this podcast because it gives me energy. It helps with nausea. It helps with suppressing appetite. But what it does is it helps cleanse the liver, promotes optimal liver function, facilitates bile production, which is the detergent that helps process that fat and fat metabolism. A lot of people are suffering from compromised fat and protein metabolism because of the spike protein. it helps with the detoxification process. So as the iodine is cleansing the blood, the salt pumps up the volume of the blood to get the toxins out. And we will be having Dr. Brownstein back on again talking about the importance of salt. And he showed his water bottle he said it tastes like salt water. Accelerated salt also helps with apoptosis, which is that programmed cell death for maintaining cellular balance and eliminating damaged or unhealthy cells. It helps with inducing DNA repair. It helps with eliminating excess estrogen in the body, and it helps with intracellular hydration. So it provides the needed sodium and potassium for that sodium-potassium pump inside and outside the cell that shuttles the nutrients into the cells and the toxins out. And I always tell the story of my son who, as an athlete in high school, his heart was stopping because he was not taking in enough salt. And it was just, the body, if you don't give your body enough salt, it's going to hold on to salt. So if you're afraid to drink water, afraid to take salt because you retain water, well, your body's retaining water because you're not giving it enough. Once you give it enough, it's going to say, oh, I trust you, I'll let it go. It also helps with digestion, with that increased bile production. And it's also enhanced with scalar frequencies. It has a negative charge to pull out positively charged toxins, undigested fats, and parasites. You can also add in the liver flush detox cleanse. That is going to make your doctor happy because your AST and ALT numbers will come down. It will lower insulin resistance and uric acid, help with protein and fat metabolism. I was really nauseous at the beginning of the year anytime I ate. And finally, I did my liver flush and bam, it was all gone. My liver started working better, metabolizing that protein and fat. I let go of that inflammation and edema that I was experiencing and just felt like $1,000,000. Okay, so now we're going to get to the important part with what do you do for your diet, right? It's not about bad or good proteins or carbs or fats. You've got bad proteins, you've got good proteins, you've got bad fats, you've got good fats, you've got bad carbohydrates and good carbohydrates. So first, we want to talk about prioritizing wild animal protein. You have depleted soils now. So our fruits and vegetables don't provide the nutrients that they once did. The wild animal protein provides the most nutrients out of any food available in the modern world, especially bison. That's why I eat it almost every day. It supports lean muscle growth, and muscles contain more mitochondria and ATP. So you are going to have more metabolism just by having more muscle. It stabilizes blood sugar, improves insulin resistance. It gives you stable energy when it's paired with the appropriate amount of carbs. It doesn't contain the sulfur oxalates, lectins, or histamines, which all disrupt detoxification pathways and inhibit metabolism. We're going to talk about all of those in a minute. And it increases that thermic effect where the body increases its metabolism to break down protein. For every 100 calories of protein that you eat, 25% of that is just burned because of that thermic effect. It's almost like free food. It helps regulate your appetite as well and curbs your cravings for the wrong sugars and foods. Okay, you also want to exclude the sulfur vegetables. These are the cruciferous vegetables. I know, don't kill me. They were the healthy vegetables in my diet until I learned what they were doing and causing this water retention that literally disappeared overnight as soon as I got rid of these sulfur vegetables. They are blocking the sulfur detoxification pathways, which increase the histamine response. This is broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, onions, garlic, egg yolks. It's important to remove all of these foods we're talking about. Then you can introduce one food at a time to see how your body responds. Okay, avoiding amyloid proteins. These are chicken, pork, turkey, conventionally raised beef. Remember, the spike protein is producing amyloids in our body away from what we're eating. These proteins are misfolded proteins that cause gut inflammation, pathogenic load to increase insulin dysregulation, Alzheimer's and dementia, and they don't build muscle or tissue because they cannot get broken down. It's not the chicken's fault. It is these crowded environments that they're in. They're stressed out, they're all clenched up, and they're causing these misfolded proteins. You want to eliminate the oxalates, so that's spinach, almonds, berries, kale, most nuts, especially spinach and almonds. But this is going to alleviate the burden on the system, reduce a histamine response, and it also plays with the sulfur. So the sulfur and the oxalates and histamines all play together. So you want to lower that burden. Can you have berries if you are a healthy individual with no symptoms? Sure. Oxalates also love the thyroid and slow down that thyroid. So if you've got a sluggish metabolism, you got to stay away from the oxalates and avoid those high histamine foods. So some of the very healthy touted ketogenic foods like avocado and bone broth and bananas, these are all very high histamine foods. Can you take a HistaHarmony or histamine digest with your foods if you do have histamine foods? Sure, but it's going to have an exaggerated response compared to what you were experiencing possibly 4 years ago. Now, you want to lower your fat intake. If you're going to increase carbs, fat comes down, okay? So the thought is, number one, you want to eliminate the PUFAs as much as you can. You're going to get some in, but that will help with the metabolism and your gut, and it will also help with the endotoxins. But you want to lower your fat intake to less than about 30%. Taking in more fat will trigger your body to store the carbs as fat. So how do we incorporate the right carbs? You want to follow the accelerated food guide. Make sure you're eating the right carbs, okay? So you do that for 1 to 3 months, depending on your broken metabolism following a lower carb diet, and then use the help of the Accelerdyne iodine, accelerated thyroid, accelerated keto, accelerated ancient salt, and copper to increase that ATP. And you might need some of the gut healing supplements like the leaky gut bundle, and use that food guide. Your ATP and mitochondrial health will improve, inflammation will reduce, and the gut will become balanced. The goal is to fix that metabolism. Okay, step 2. You can incorporate the liver flush, detox cleanse. That's going to optimize your fat and protein metabolism, improve your thyroid hormone conversion, and improve detoxification of all those toxins that lead to insulin resistance and weight gain. Now that the metabolism is fixed, start incorporating the right carbs. Make sure the fat is less than 30%. And when that fat is too high, glucose gets shuttled into glycolysis, which lowers ATP from that 36 to 2. And this is going to increase your fat storage and lower energy and lower your metabolism. Use the accelerated food guide. And what I like to start with are fruits. My favorite fruits that it seems like everyone can deal with: frozen cherries, and they're great in the freezer because they don't got the seeds in them, and you can make shakes with them. You can pop them as a dessert. Papaya, we're getting into papaya season. Watermelon. What else? Apples are good. I like pineapple, but it is acidic, so it might be an issue. But easily digested carbs like fruits won't lead to intestinal irritation or endotoxin production. So fruit is the first step. And you want to stay away from the fermentable foods because that will feed the endotoxins and the complex carbs. Remember, if you've got gut issues, that's going to feed those endotoxins as well. If you're experiencing bloat or gas, that means you haven't healed your gut yet. That's where the accelerated leaky gut bundle comes in. And depending on your activity level, age, metabolic improvement, you will increase your carbs depending on your lifestyle. So listen to your body. If you gain 2 to 5 pounds in one day, that is a sign that whatever you ate inflamed your body and it's retaining water. You did not just gain 2 to 5 pounds of fat overnight. But if you're bloated, experience dips in energy, or a high heart rate, that's a sign that you possibly need to lower the carb amount and increase your protein. So I hope this was helpful. This, remember, you've got to address the first things we talked about: stress, leaky gut, the endotoxins, the radiation, eating organic food, eating according to the accelerated food guide. All of that is going to help simplify things. Our ancestors, our grandparents didn't have any of these conversations because they were just eating real food. Disease, obesity, lack of energy, accelerated aging, chronic disease, cancer rates all have exponentially increased over the last decade because of all of these things that we have talked about. And it's not your fault. You just go to the market and you just eat food that is sold, and you trust that these companies have your back. They don't have your back. They are trying to sell. They're trying to increase their profits. And if the new diet craze is keto, you're going to see a whole bunch of keto protein bars and shakes and foods, thinking, oh, I can eat as much as I want because at least I'm not eating carbs, or I'm on a vegan diet and I'm having margaritas and French fries because they're vegan, but I'm not eating meat. It's not about that, guys. It's about eating whole foods, unadulterated, and getting back to simplicity, getting outside, walking, getting in the sun, petting your dog, lowering your stress levels, focusing on your sleep, and moving your body. And you will see an improvement in all of these markers. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for tuning in today. If you need my help with your health concerns, don't know where to start, reach out to me at SaraBantaHealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you. And join my free group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. I share daily tips and tools to improve your health and answer your questions. You'll be surrounded by an amazing community of people who are on a similar path. And there's more information on my website, again, SaraBantaHealth.com. Of course, don't forget to follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products, and you can catch this podcast on over 100 platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Just search Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show, and I'm on a mission. I need your help to share my healing message with everyone who's ready to listen, and you can help me by sharing this podcast with a few friends who might benefit, who might be on that low-carb diet, or might be on that ketogenic diet, or even a carnivore diet. Remember, I'm live every Monday and Tuesday, and be sure to visit the website. You can use coupon WELCOME10 to get 10% off site-wide. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.